So with that all being said, this is our webinar on the PulseWorx Gateway, the new PGW. We've had some real good success with it so far. We have questions. I would request that you ask them over here on your little question thing. I will get to them as we come along. I might, and if not, I'll get to them via emails at the end of the webinar. So we'll be following up with that. So a little bit of the agenda here. We will talk about the overview of what it is, how to actually configure the unit, how to remotely access the unit, how to set it up for that, what the different user capabilities are. We'll also talk about scheduling and the different types of calendars we have. We'll also talk about the PC PulseWorx app, which is free, that can be downloaded from our website under the PulseWorx downloads. And we'll also talk a little bit about the Apple app. I know one of the biggest questions is, where's the Android app? It is in the works. I'm hoping to have some news here in the next few weeks, but I feel that we will probably see one from one of our third-party vendors prior to PCS actually having their own finished. So that's one question hopefully is answered, and I keenly want an Android app because I am an Android type person. So the gateway, it looks exactly like our PIM IP, and it is a PIM. It gives us the capability of not being tethered to the wall with a PIM-U or a PIM-R. So we basically took the capabilities of the PIM IP and added about 20 TECs with timed events. We actually have 256 times events that are available. It does have an astronomical clock, and we can do any of those timed events in two different ways, on a weekly type calendar, a weekly type schedule, or on a calendar schedule. And the main difference is on a calendar, it has to do with the days of the week. So Mondays, this event happens. On Fridays and Saturdays, this event happens. Versus, excuse me, on the calendar, it's by date versus Monday and Wednesday or every day, that kind of a thing. One of the things we've also added to the gateway is a lot more security. We actually have to have a username and a password to access the unit now. And depending on what level of user you are, what kind of access that you actually have to what you can do. The other thing is we can actually have multiple connections to the gateway. So we can actually have up to 8 different devices connect to the unit. So I can have a Surface tablet, I could have an iPad, a PC, but also with that being said, let's say people are using the app to control things, and as an installer, I need to do some programming. So Upstart will actually put everybody on pause and let them know, look, we're updating, we're doing programming, we're doing certain things. And lastly, we can actually keep the track of the status of the device, and when we're triggering scenes and things like that, we can do it that way. So the initial configuration, it's pretty simple. Plug the PulseWorx gateway in, connect it to your router. Obviously, the router is going to be connected to your hub or your modem to go out in the world. And from there, it takes about a minute for the unit to wake up, to kind of get set up. To actually access the gateway, you do have to have the latest Upstart, 8.0 or higher. And again, that is available on our website as well. All free. We do have to have an account to get it. And then what we'll need to do is actually configure the unit within your network. I'm going to jump here between between the PowerPoint and actually going to the unit live, but the PowerPoint will pretty much have a unit, follow through with stuff. The device is shipped in DHCP mode. So if I come over to my Upstart here, we have a little bit of a new look to Upstart here, and we have a tab called the Gateway. So under the network, I need to configure my network, and I have a choice here now of, the PIM IP or the PulseWorx gateway. And if I don't know, being that it's shipped in DHCP mode, I do not know what the IP address is. So I can turn around and say find, because I'm already connected, sorry. I was playing with some stuff here earlier, so let me just disconnect. So I can go and find the PulseWorx gateway. So it goes out and searches your network, and it will put in the IP address. So at this point, I could say, if I wanted to change the network settings, I could do so. When it ships, the username and password is blank. And we can turn around and set that up. But I can turn around and connect to the gateway. It'll then drop down through here, just as you do with any of the PIMs, that all of a sudden you'll get the input showing that you are connected and you're operational. We got a question here: does the PulseWorx gateway include a Cat5 cable? At this point, we figured everybody's had so many Cat5s that no, we did not include a cable with the unit. So you'll just need to, come up with a short one, because we feel that these devices will be living in the closet or wherever your router is. So at this point, I'm actually connected to the gateway, and I can actually start to program or set up my Upstart file. Now, one of the, so I'm going to come back, we can connect to it, and it'll show you what firmware version you've got all the time, what's in the unit, and what's going on. Now, to set the gateway up itself, you've actually got to go to the Gateway tab. And this is kind of, we got to set the location, because it's going to be shipped to you thinking that it's in Northridge, California. So I live down in Long Beach, so I can put it in by my zip code, or you can, put in your latitude and longitude if you know. And if you want to tweak the local sunrise, sunset, because you might live in the mountains or in a valley near mountains that sunset is probably 20 minutes before so, because you're in that valley, we can go ahead and set up, what your sunrise, sunset is. So once we do that, it will then go and download into the unit. The second part is the set time. Now I can, for your time zone, we can set the gateway clock to the current time of the computer you're connected to, and or set to a specific time if you want to do some testing. And we're going to say set, and we'll get back saying, hey, I've already done setting my location. So I want to keep myself on task, setting the time. We do have a battery backup on the time for up to 5 years. Now, before we get into the users, I'm going to come back to the gateway, and part of the configuration of the gateway is, can I change the network settings? I can. I can turn around and put in, I give it a static address internally within my system, or I can just leave it as whatever it assigned it. So I can, change that, assign it my subnet mask, my gateway, and our default port is 2101, but if you want it to be a different port, that you're going to do port forwarding to, you can actually change that right here. We've also got some advanced settings and we can actually do that internally of the device. All right, but this is really kind of where you need to think about, do you want to leave it at the IP address that your router assigned it, or change it over, and what port do you actually want it to be part of? All right, so that kind of gives us the basic settings of what we've got. So, users. We've got to talk about users. So what we'll end up doing is on the Gateway tab, we will go to the user icon. The first thing you got to do is you've got to set up an administrator. So admin, and you put in a password, and you will check all of the tables. And what that will do is give you the user table. That's the person that can actually set up what the users are. We can have 4 different users. Even though we can have 8 different devices connected to it, there's only 4 users at this point. So we feel that there will be the administrator, which can create users. You will end up having a table write permission, which basically would be a tech or owner that can write down or download to the gateway, export your files and change different things. The last table that we have is the schedule table, and we'll see a little bit more of that in the apps. But basically, this enables you to modify any of the timed events that are set up in it within Upstart or within the app itself. So you might actually create a user that is just somebody that can control things but cannot change the timed events, a la our kids. So from there, depending on how you set them up, I look at it admin, tech, I can do timed events, or I can just control different things. So those are the 4 different types of users, and that's kind of the logic behind what level are you at. And once you do that, you're actually fully functional. So, I'll come over here, over to the gateway, and under the users, I've got, administrative. I'm, kind of got kids. They can, really doesn't do it, but, we can label them anything that we really want to. At that point, we can actually start to program, set up our network, things like that. I've used a file here, the PCS demo board as I've used, but I've also got another file already downloaded into the gateway to help us with this course. So one of the things that we can end up looking at is, if you're going to be using apps, you're going to want to have the different rooms that you've set up internally to show up on the different apps. So what we end up doing is, under the gateway, in here, in this situation, I've got the living room, right? I've got outside, I've got the kitchen. So I've got the lights, I've got the keypad and the lights here. I've got the outside landscape lights, I've got the kitchen, I've got a keypad and the island light. So in the icon, we're going to grab whatever logical name is there. But if you want to change that icon, so I come in and I can choose any one of the icons that we have. At this moment in time, you cannot change the icons to be something different. So this is kind of where we're at to start. So the kitchen kind of has a refrigerator. If I really wanted that more to be, that block or something, I can choose whatever icon I want to be for the kitchen. The living room, I can come in and change it, and it shows us in the upper left-hand corner. And I can change the style of this box, to show us anything, any way that you want, just as you can do with any other Windows type application. So the room icons are kind of important. So when you kind of have another file, different spaces, things along that nature, we can go ahead and click on those and modify them in any way, the default units that we've got. secondly is now that we've got a variety of other devices, right, we've got to be able to pick an icon that we can use to look at what I have representing that unit. So I can come in here into the living room kitchen cans, and I now have another tab that's been added called Remote Access. And what I can do is I can change that icon. So I have called it can light. So right now I have this icon as ceiling light. I could be, you know, a chandelier, or we actually have one here called recessed light. So that can be my icon. So again, right now these are the icons that we've got. Now, the other thing about in that is, what do I want the icon to be labeled? So we know it's going to be in, this is the kitchen, right? Recessed light. Let's just change and call this cans. You know, I could say pink lamp or whatever. It does grab the name that you originally called it, can lights, but I can turn around and have it labeled anything that I so choose. So that's kind of a real quick thing to do on those. All right, we've got a few questions here. Let me see if I can get some of those answered as we go. So one of the questions is, do I have to have my existing PIM connected at the same time as my gateway? No. Again, the gateway is a PIM in and of itself. So once this is on your network, and if you are connected via Wi-Fi to that network, you can access the PIM. Could I have another PIM connected to my laptop and still do programming that way? Yes, you could, but I think that's a little bit of an overkill for what we're looking at. So, you know, there's a lot of people that have other front-end units, maybe an ELK, maybe an Alarm, something like that has a PIM or a PIM IP that it's talking to. And if I've got if I just have a plain PIM connected to that unit, I'm going to still need another PIM of showing, you know, what I'm going to be programming with. So I would pretty much use the gateway to do that, because that allows me to get to the job site from off-site and not have to actually be on-site. So off we go. All right, let's kind of get through some of this. We kind of talked about this. I could change it. If it's a two-channel device, I can have one icon for, you know, I've got a fixture module in my office, one for the lights, one for the fan itself. Okay, in most of our jobs, we've got keypads as well. One of the things that we have added is what we're calling pop-up keypads. And there's two types of keypads that we can add. One that is the pop-up that will actually represent the keypad that's in the wall. And from that, so if I go into the living room keypad, and I'll go to the kitchen keypad, because this is the 7-button unit. All right, in the remote access of that, I'm going to have it called, you know, it's going to pick up that it's a 7-button keypad here. That's all good, but do I want to show S1, S2, S3, S4 on my unit or on my app? I don't think so. So what we need to do is fill in the engraving on how we want those buttons to show up. So button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5, island, morning, dinner, watch. That's supposed to be TV, so I'll just change this to be TV. and the last button is away. Now, with doing this, it doesn't mean you have to order your custom engraving, but this is what will show up on the device. So we'll kind of show you that in just a moment. Question here is, I mentioned Surface earlier. Yes, the PulseWorx gateway has a Windows app. So Surface is one of the new hot little tickets for computers and touchscreens and all that kind of stuff. But we also have the PulseWorx app, and I'll just kind of bring that up here for just a moment, if I can get everything to, yay. I need my start button. Okay. The PulseWorx app is actually a PC-based remote. You know, I can use it remotely if I've got a gateway at another location. I can use it locally. So if I start my PulseWorx app, it'll pop up, and this is what I look like when I start the unit. Of course, I'm going to have to connect, and I need to configure the connection just as I did when I did it in Upstart. So yes, we do have a PC app. I can use a PC to run the house, control it manually. I can do my schedules, things like that. So I just want to bring this up to show you, because there's a question that came up at that time, but we'll kind of cover a little bit more of this in a moment. Now, coming back to the pop-up keypads, this is where we're going to end up labeling them. So that will actually represent existing keypads in the house. We can choose what kind, what the icon is, and we're going to fill in, as we just kind of covered, what the units are. Now, we can also create a fake keypad, if you will, or a virtual keypad. And under the Gateway tab, we can create a keypad or something that enables us to trigger scenes and or devices. As long as we've set up the scenes to control them, we can assign that scene to a button. And we can, in whatever function, if we're setting up as a toggle or an activate or a deactivate, we can use that. We don't have a bright or a dim capability on the apps to turn things, you know, on or off. But a virtual keypad, so when I'm in Upstart and I'm under the Gateway tab, if I want to create a virtual keypad here, I can choose it to be a 6-button, a 7-button, or an 8-button. I'm going to call it, I'm going to use a 7-button. I need to put it in a room. So I'll just actually put this in the living room for right now, and I'm going to call this the scenes. Keypad. Okay? Well, what that will do is it will assign it to unit number 250, because again, it's not real. Now within it, I'm going to come in and configure it just like I would any other keypad. So on my transmit, what do I want this button to do? Okay, I want this to do the morning scene, and I want it to be activate. I want this button to be, I want to create a new scene, and I'll just call it party, and I'll activate that. I can assign any one of these other ones. I can do the island light. I can make this one actually a toggle button. And I can put any one of my other scenes in here, watch TV, and off. So I'll just make that my done scene. And using the up and down doesn't make any sense. Now, I still do have to set my indicators, so you still have to do all of that to make sure that the little LEDs will follow what you're doing. And with kind of what I've done, this will work for me. So that will actually end up becoming a virtual keypad in the app to go ahead and trigger my different scenes. All right, let me try and get back here to my. So we've kind of covered those. All right, so the next kind of thing is you can have as many virtual keypads as you want in your system, which is kind of nice. So, you know, it enables us to do different things. And give me a moment here. My question kind of disappeared. So that's, you know, kind of nice to get going with the keypads. All right, now the scheduling is a couple different things that we can do with the scheduling. We can do it weekly or calendar, and there's kind of a differentiation. With the calendar is mainly used for kind of light commercial type things or holidays type stuff. And there's a variety of different ways that we can program the gateway to kind of give you, obviously, different ways to control what you want to do. There's 4 schedules that I can create, and I can rename them anything that I want. And I can say I'm home, or I'm away, I'm on a holiday, or whatever. I mean, the reality is being that we have so many events, and with some of the logic that we can do within these timed events, instead of having a home schedule and a vacation schedule, you could have a home schedule and only certain events will happen if you're on vacation. So it sounds like a double negative, but some people, you know, if you want to save time of how you're programming and things along that nature, it's just what do you want to do it. And again, we've got 256 different events. So let's kind of go in and what kind of schedule mode, and we have to set this up first on it, and I'm going to do weekly schedule here right now, and that will go ahead and download into it, and now I can edit my schedules. And this has already got a variety of things in it. But if I want to add a schedule, it's pretty straightforward. So every day at, you know, and being that I'm in weekly, I can do Monday through Friday, Saturday or Sundays, these dates, or this specific date. Okay, so Monday through Friday at a specific time, at sunset, at sunrise, plus or minus those times. So I'm going to say at sunset, and I can actually do that varying within, you know, up to an hour. So within 10 minutes, I want to activate any one of those scenes. So I'm going to have the landscape lights turn on. Now, this is a new feature. I want to suspend this action when the scene is activated and resume it when it's deactivated. So I can turn around and say, if I've got the party scene happening, don't do that. I mean, that doesn't make much logic sense right now for the outside landscape lights. But if I'm home, all right, if I've got the home scene activated, don't turn on the lights. But if I deactivate home, so this is where you usually can put in a vacation button. So, or away, I can have certain things happen while I'm away versus when I'm actually home. And that's now been added to, you know, activate landscape lights Monday through Friday at sunset within 10 minutes, suspend upon home. So there's a variety of different things that we can do, you know, and I'm not sure exactly what all of this is in here that I was playing with earlier. Now, I can also turn around and have a vacation schedule. So I can say every day at this time, activate the landscape lights. Off we go, all right? Now, when we're done with all of this, it just downloaded, scheduled the table, has been stored. I can turn around and download, you know, this schedule program into it. But I also have to choose what schedule am I going to be using now. Am I using home? Am I using vacation? Am I using you know, Schedule C or Schedule D. So I can set that within Upstart. So I'm going to say set it. All right, so I know it's home. And if I come back, I can get it and it tells me I'm at home. The apps will do the same thing. So, you know, we can change those schedules remotely if we're away. You know, we leave, however you want to get to it. All right, so kind of touched on that. Now, let me come back and talk about the calendar mode for just a moment. I'm going to change this to calendar, and that's going to wipe out any of the scenes that I've got in there. So now if I schedule my edit, or edit my schedules, being that I've been connected to it, it knows, the software knows that something is amiss. So use the schedule in the file or use the schedules in the gateway. So if somebody changes something along the way, you'll know it. So if you're a tech and, you know, the client has been messing around in the apps, things along that nature, you can actually reset it to where you are or upload the new file and then modify from there. So I'm going to use a schedule in the gateway, which nothing is here, so we'll say normal. Okay, for A. For B, we'll call vacation. Actually call holiday. One of the big things that a lot of people are using this for is that religious holidays. So under normal, I'll say add, and I want at this time, at 6 p.m., same time every day, I want to activate the landscape lights. Great. Okay. Schedule B, I'm going to say add, and I'm going to say at sunset, activate the home scene. Okay. Now, one of the big things about this is you have to set the schedule calendar. And what days are going to be assigned to Schedule A? What days are going to be assigned to Schedule B? So I can turn around here and say the red highlights are national holidays. And I could go in here and actually change some of those dates to be holidays, but I can also do a quick calendar setup. So Schedule A is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Schedule B, you know, we can call that weekends, right? That's Saturday and Sunday. Schedule C, we could say, is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and any one of the holidays. So I can very quickly change you know, what they are, and they're going to be showed color coding. So I can use things like a holiday schedule for a school or for a business, and on those holidays I'm going to have different things happen than I am during my normal work week. So it's just kind of a different way of going about scheduling different things. So, and again, we can still do the suspend, if you will, on that. So it's now downloaded that, and what I want to do is actually come back and go schedule mode. Come back to our weekly scheduling. Just is a little bit easier. And let's see if there's anything here. If not, I'll pull my file back up. Yeah, so it actually wiped everything out here. Okay, so just for grins and giggles, I'm going to open up my file, which actually has the demo board in it, plus my house, and we can actually see the different things. All right, so what I need to do, so let's say we get everything programmed. Okay, we've got our timed events, we've got all of our schedules created, things along that nature. I need to export that file down into the gateway. And where we do that is under the gateway, I can export it. And this will take all of my timed events and things. So this is going to export. Now, clearing the state, this has to do with the state of devices. Do I want to clear the state because I don't know where things are? Do I want to update the state from upstart or don't update it? So being that I have not verified everything in this file because I just quickly connected here, I'm going to say don't update. I'm just going to let it live where it wants to be. And I'm now going to export my whole file down into the gateway. We'll take all my rooms, all my devices, all of my virtual keypads, all the different things, and download this into the unit. I mean, I've got 50 some odd devices in the house. It takes about less than a minute to get everything into the unit. So once I'm all done, we're good to go. All right. Now, I want to take one little sidetrack here before we actually pull up the apps. And that has to do with what we call is the connection catalog. And you can see that here. And what this enables us to do, and to get this to show up under the options, under operation setup, in order to support remote connections to the gateway, you have to check this box. So in a single location, you're probably not going to need multiple gateways. But if I'm a tech and I'm working with different files or different systems, I want to be able to connect to a variety of different systems. So what this enables me to do is create another connection. So I could call this, Mrs. Jones, and 123 Main Street. Now, if they have a static IP, I can turn around and put it there, but most of the time they're going to do standard port forwarding. So it's going to be, Jones, whatever they've set up the system or whatever you've done that for, at UINDNS.org or whoever you're doing your port forwarding with. And you do your port 2101 and you put in the username and the password. And if you so chose, every time you connect to that, you could set up to pull up her file. So, I could log that in here. So I'm just going to back out instead of adding another connection. So what you can see is I've got, if I'm in the office, I've got one as when I'm in it, or this is the remote one, okay, PCS office. I have a second PCS office, and that's if I'm within the same network type of a situation. So that kind of enables us to do a variety of different things. And to me, it's a neat piece because I can now connect to Mrs. Jones, Mr. Smith, whatever I want to do. But you can add them as many as you want in there, and it's just a total different path of getting into another location. All right. So being that I am connected via Upstart, I'm going to now, being that I downloaded everything, I'm going to disconnect. So Upstart is no longer connected to the gateway, and I will now come over to the PulseWorx application, and I can configure my connection. I can find the gateway, being that I'm here on the network, and I can test my connection. I'm connected to it. Great. And I will now connect. And I'm going to, because I have the connection catalog setup, I'm going to go and connect to my house, my unit. I'm within the network. And what it'll do is it'll go and pull up all of the different rooms. And this is how we, you know, on the demo board, if I go into the demo board, I've now got the island, landscape lights, the virtual keypad. So if I click on the unit, I can turn the living room off. I can click on the island, so I can do a quick command. But if I press and hold on that, I can now get my slider capability, and it will go and send my, you know, my dim commands. Or if I so choose, go ahead and turn it off, and I can close. Now, this gives you the capability of making sure, I don't have an app on a phone as of yet, but if you use this PulseWorx app, it's exactly the same thing as using the Apple app. So for connection capabilities, things along that nature, this is really a good way to make sure you got everything working fine. You know, I can come in here and I can set the gateway time if I so chose, or I can get the time. So we know it's 9:43 here. I can look at schedule, you know, edit my schedule. It's the same thing that I'm doing just as I was if I was in Upstart. So I can, you know, these are all the schedules that I've got set up here in my house. If I so chose, I could add a schedule real quick. Every day at, you know, sunset, activate, you know, the dog run lights. I could say, okay, great. That's now been added to the gateway without having to use Upstart. Now, and it's just updated it. So the demo board, I can turn around now and I can trigger my lights, you know, my different scenes, and this is how I can use a virtual keypad to go and change different things within an app, just as if I was using the real keypad, right? And my LEDs are tracking, the lights are showing what's going on within the app as well as what's going on the keypad. So that gives us a nice little setup. Now the virtual keypad, this is one I kind of set up earlier. We can end up, you know, doing different things. Just turns the kitchen, you know, to different devices, but there's no actual keypad that represents that except for this virtual one right here. So that gives us the capability there, and I'm trying to get back here. Okay. Now, with the Apple app, you can go to look up for PulseWorx. One of the things you need to do once you've set in the unit, you need to go into your settings, and under the app, under PulseWorx, you need to put in your gateway, the IP address as the primary when you're in the house. You know, use the port, the username, and password. If you're going to use it as remote as well, and you've done your standard port forwarding, you need to put in the secondary address. And under the app itself, you can tell it only to use the primary, or if the primary fails because you're not on the Wi-Fi, you're using the cellular, it will then back up and go use the secondary, and it will access it in that fashion. And the app ends up doing the same setup, same look and feel as we've done, as I showed you and demonstrated with you on the PulseWorx app versus the Apple app. We already kind of covered that. So, you know, we set up the IP address again for the PC app or the Surface app. You know, choose our room icons. When you drop into a room, it'll display those devices, and again, I can control any one of those, and then I hit the back button to come back out to another room, you know, to come back to the fun things. We've got different icon representations for, you know, if the light is on or if the light is off. If you have a keypad, a KPLD with a load, you will end up having, you know, your buttons on one side and then the control as well for the lighting level. And then, as you've seen, you know, the demo board, what do we want to, this is how they get represented. A little bit different in the way the keypads display in the Apple app. When you get into the, you know, local control of it, so like the bookcase lights, I can do on and off, and I have a little slider there. And again, with the keypad that we've got on there. Now, the last kind of thing that I do want to show you is, let's see if I can demonstrate this easily. I'll try and jump between them quick enough that if I come back and I try and connect with Upstart, okay, my house, and I'll jump back to the app, that should go through, and I don't know if you guys got to see that, but being that I was connected with the app, it shows up, it isn't a problem, but the gateway is disconnected due to a client starting pulse mode, meaning Upstart, and that label is being changed that, you know, basically now that I'm connected with Upstart, I'm going to do some other changes and functionality things that you using the app, I'm sorry, right now you're kind of pausing, you're checked out. But if I come back here and I disconnect, I can turn around and connect again back to my house. And I'm now connected and I have control again of what's going on in the job. So I know we were talking a little bit earlier, in my office I've got the fan and I've got the light. That is a fixture module, and it's actually two different channels of what's going on. And we'll show it, you know, that it's on with the yellow highlight. So that's kind of what we've got here. I think we've covered how to hook up, how to set up our schedules, how to connect to it, how to come back. It's pretty straightforward from my perspective. I'd love to hear the feedback from you all. But I think, you know, this piece is going to become kind of one or more of the mainstays in most of your jobs, because it becomes your PIM plus your TEC, which is pretty much what most people want to do. And everybody's always been asking, hey, where's my app? So if you've got any questions at this point, I'd love to take them. I really don't have anything else to cover. So, got one question here. Can the gateway generate conflict of houses and politics on the ARS 232? The person who sent me that, I'll give you a call later and we can talk, because I'm really not sure what you're looking to ask me on that right now. So, great. Well, I'd like to thank you all. There's a lot of opportunity, I think, within this product for us. As I said, we've been very successful with it so far, and we do have a lot of third-party companies already getting ready to support the gateway to build the status and things like that. So, and yes, I am available for children's parties. One of my lovely folks. Okay, folks. I'll be here for a couple more minutes. If you got questions, please type them in. Other than that, I'll say thanks for attending, and we'll see you at the next one.